welcome to Delicious Italian. Today what I'd like to show you how to make is pasta alla Norma. But not just pasta alla Norma, but pasta alla Norma stepped up a bit because I'm going to serve this pasta right inside an eggplant half. And that's because eggplant is a main ingredient in this dish. So it's sauteed eggplant, or roasted eggplant in this case, a fresh mozzarella, a nice tomato basil sauce, and some fresh pasta, which I've just finished making here. I have some nice thick pappardelle, which will go nicely with these other ingredients. If you haven't seen my recipe for making fresh pasta, you can tune into that video and see how it's done. It's not difficult to do, and it makes the dish kind of extra special. If you have a little extra time, I encourage you to make it. All right, so I already have some eggplant here that I prepared, and let me show you what I did. So I took my eggplant and I'm just cutting it in half. And this is a nice eggplant because it's not full of seeds. You know, when an eggplant has a lot of seeds in it, it's probably not worth your while to even go through the cooking process because all those seeds do not make for a tasty eggplant. Also, just the seeds ruin the texture of the whole thing. So this one has virtually no seeds, and that was just lucky. When you choose an eggplant, you want to be sure to choose a nice shiny fruit with a nice firm texture, not super hard, but you don't want it to be squishy. So just a little tiny bit of give, but definitely a firm one. And so I've cut it in half here, and I'm just going to score it. Probably do it like this would be a better idea. I'm just scoring to the bottom of it and then across in big chunks because I want some nice big pieces for this. So my eggplant is scored. I've added some salt to it, just a good sprinkling of salt to it. Now what the salt will do is draw out the excess moisture, so it'll cook up nicer. I always do this to my eggplant. Unless I'm frying it with a batter or a breadcrumb mixture, I always do allow it to drain off some of its water. So what I did was salt on top. I'm just going to set it aside for about 10 minutes. When I see all the moisture has come to the top, I'll pat it dry with some paper towels, and then I'm going to drizzle some olive oil over the top, turn it upside down, and bake it at 350 over about 30 minutes or so. And that will help it to just get some really good flavor going. And then we're going to proceed by sauteing that in our tomato sauce. So what I'm doing here is just going to remove the meat of the eggplant from its shell, kind of gently. I don't want to break the shell apart too much. And I'm just going to set that aside. I don't know if you could see this, but some of the moisture is coming out of this eggplant. So this is just about ready to cook. All right, so I've got all my ingredients here ready to go. I've got my roasted eggplant in this bowl. I have some fresh mozzarella. I have my tomato basil sauce back there on the stove, along with olive oil, salt, and pepper. And I'm just going to give some nice fresh basil a quick chop. Just a nice rough chop. I mean, eggplant, tomato, mozzarella, and basil. A match made in heaven. All right, so our oil is starting to shimmer, and I'm just going to add this eggplant right in. I'm going to give this a quick little saute. Now I want to have all my ingredients ready before I cook my pasta in this boiling water, which I have salted already. It's nice and salty like the sea. You want it to have a lot of flavor because there's no flavor, or there's no salt in the pasta. All the salt, the savory, salty flavor comes from the salted water that you cook your pasta in. And that's pretty much true anytime you buy pasta, even if you don't make it at home. It has no salt usually. I'm going to up this heat to high and just give it a quick stir. My tomato basil sauce is ready here. I had already added a lot of basil to the sauce while I cooked it, and I will add that last bit of fresh basil right at the end. This It's going to need just a little bit of salt. Remember, we salted the eggplant before we roasted it. And I'm going to add a little pepper because salt and pepper kind of go together. There we go. If you don't like pepper, you don't have to use it, but it goes nicely with this dish. All right, I'm going to add in some of my tomato basil sauce. A little bit. Okay, that looks and it smells so good. This is just about ready to put all together and fill our eggplants with this lovely sauce with the eggplant. It's going to have some nice mozzarella in there. That'll be great. I'll turn that off for a minute and add my basil. There we go. Right in. Wow, I can really smell that delicious fresh basil. Lovely. All right, our pasta is cooking away nicely. You can see it's got a good boil going. Fresh pasta does not take long to cook, maybe 3 or 4 minutes. Just check it. It's much, much faster than dried pasta, dried semolina pasta. So keep an eye on that. You don't want your pasta overcooked. I have tasted the pasta and it is perfectly al dente, just where I want it. So I'm going to drain it and I'll show you how to put all this together. All of our ingredients are ready. I have drained our pasta. I'm going to add it right into this saucepan. It's still nice and hot. I'm going to give this a quick toss before I add my eggplant. All right, so we have our eggplant inside of here, which we sauteed in the sauce. And now I'm adding the mozzarella. Now you'll notice that I'm not really telling you ingredient portions, but it's just that kind of thing. You can really just add as much as you like. I am adding probably 6 ounces in total of mozzarella here. I'm gonna add a little bit more in here. We're going to put this in the eggplant shell and pop it into the oven for a quick moment. I have the oven preheated at 400 degrees and it should only take about 5 minutes to just really bring all those things together. I have these shells are warmed, they were in the oven, and now let me just fill up the shell with the pasta. Oh, that's going to be delicious. That's a pretty abundant portion, wouldn't you say? Okay. Whoa. There we go. Okay. That looks very good for eggplant lovers and tomato basil pasta lovers and mozzarella lovers. It's like a dream. I'm just going to add a few bites of mozzarella to the top, put this in the oven, and then I'll show you what it looks like. Okay, so our eggplant is out of the oven and it looks lovely, served up like that. But honestly, if you didn't put it in the eggplant and serve it that way, it's perfectly delicious just like that. Tossed in the sauce with that delicious eggplant, basil, and that mozzarella just melting inside. It's really, really luscious and creamy and delicious. So I hope you'll try this recipe one way or another. Pasta alla Norma. Buon appetito!